Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhandi. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Purudikacharya, Stotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Purudikacharya, Stotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Can you see, this door may be open. The door to the altar, they have to be closed. And the door, you know, that swinging door that stays open. Is it on the altar? It's playing out of the speaker. I thought I turned it off. Oh, I just turned it down. I turned it down to minimum. That's good. That's good. Okay. So we're on page 498. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Actually, we should do, yeah, we didn't really get to talk about 52. All right. All right. On this 24th day of March 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 11, the universal form, text 52, page 498. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sudurdarshamidang rupam Drishtavanasi yanmama Deva apyasya rupasya Nityam darshana kankshinaha Shri Bhagavanu vacha Sudurdarshamidang rupam Drishtavanasi yanmama Deva apyasya rupasya Nityam darshana kankshinaha Shri Bhagavanu vacha Sudurdarshamidang rupam Drishtavanasi yanmama Deva apyasya rupasya Nityam darshana kankshinaha. Go ahead, Prabhu. Shri Bhagavanu vacha Sudurdarshamidang rupam Drishtavanasi yanmama Deva apyasya rupasya Nityam darshana kankshinaha. Shri Bhagavanu vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Sudur darsham, very difficult to see, idam, this rupam, form, drishtavan, a see, as you have seen, yat, which, mama, of mine, devaha, the demigods, api also asya, this rupasya, form, nityam, eternally, darshana kankshinaha, aspiring to see. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. Purport. In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now here the word Sudurdarsham is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still, beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidence in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna, and they offered nice prayers to the Lord, although he was not at that time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person, and may offer respect not to him but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna in his two-armed form is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, it is also confirmed, Avajananti mamudha manushim tanum ashritam. He is not visible to the foolish person to deride him. Krishna's body, as confirmed by the Brahma Samhita and confirmed by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher. But he is an ordinary man, and even though he was so powerful, he had to accept the material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna which was manifested to Arjuna is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person. But the transcendental process is described in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. To hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process. And those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yogamaya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna, and the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyama Sundar. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, revelation. This is a central facet of our philosophy. Prabhupada quotes one verse, at least once in this Bhagavad Gita, if not several times, Atakshi Krishna Namadi Nabave Grayam Indriyai. Sevan Mukha Hijivado Swayameva Spuratyada. That with our materially covered senses, we cannot understand the name, form, qualities, etc. of Krishna. Atakshi Krishna Namadi Nabave Grayam Indriyai. The word graya means to grasp, like we have in this word in English, to grasp, that means to understand. But if one begins serving him, beginning with the tongue, Sevan Mukha Hijivado, that eventually the Lord reveals himself. So the whole point is that we can't force Krishna to reveal himself, and we can't understand him by any other means than bhakti. That's the only thing he really responds to. Otherwise we concoct some idea, we may be great philosophers or this or that, but whatever we come up with will be false. Another verse Prabhupada would quote in this regard often, the prayer of Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter, 10th canto. Atapi te deva bhatamba dvaya pasara leshanugita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko pichadam vichinvan. This verse really says it all. First of all, who's offering the prayer? Lord Brahma, who is the repository of all the Vedas, because they're the wisest person in the universe. All the Vedas revealed to him. But he was covered over and bewildered by this two-handed form of Krishna as a little child. It didn't compute. He knew that he was the issue coming from Garbhodaksha Vishnu on that lotus flower, and he understood that he was the descendant of Vishnu, he was born of Vishnu. Vishnu, especially these magnificent Purusha avatars, Garbhodaksha, Mahavishnu, like that. He couldn't see how this little child, with the fruit in his hand and everything, with the calves and the Garbhoda boys, was superior to that Vishnu. It's just like some people, many people in India, they believe that Krishna is a manifestation of Vishnu. Vishnu is original. And it's simplistic. Well, he's got 4 hands. Krishna only has 2 hands. But what really makes Krishna, Krishna is the supreme. Ete changsa kalak pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This is known as the Paribhas Sutra. Have you ever come across that term? Yeah. The foundational statement of the whole Bhagavad, everything is built on it. In fact, maybe you didn't know that Rupa Goswami wrote a whole book based on proving that Krishna is God, that he is actually Bhagavan. Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Yeah. That's published by the BBT, Gopi Brahmadan Prabhu. So Brahma, wanted to test Krishna. He wasn't as foolish as Indra and didn't get angry, and try to kill the whole. No, Brahma, very delicately put the calves and the boys to sleep, and nobody was harmed. But you know the story. For a whole year, Krishna just manifested himself in an identical calves and boys. And then after Brahma realized, oh, this really is God, appearing in this own, for his own reasons, in this very human-like form, he offered these prayers, and they're very important. The 14th chapter. If you look in the Krishna book, there's a lot of commentary there. That, a lot of philosophy. So one of them, several Prabhupada would always quote, and this is one of them. Atapi de deva. So Brahma is praying to Krishna. Padambodadvaya prasada leshanugudehi. Unless one gets at least a little particle of your mercy from your lotus feet, one cannot understand your glories. Atapi de prasada leshanugudehi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno. He can understand the glories of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you, in truth. Janati tattvam nachanya eko. No other person, not one single other person can do that. Even though pichidam vichinvan, speculating for a long, long time, or reading the Vedas or this or that, without that mercy coming from you, which implies bhakti. That's how you get the mercy. Surrender, service, love, that Krishna reveals proportionately. So that's what's going on here. After this magnificent display of the universal form, which really kind of undermined Arjuna's natural rasa, and he was in the mood of wonder, and then in the mood of trepidation, which he expressed. So Krishna is now revealing this, which is even much more difficult to see than the universal form. After all, even though this is, you have to have the eyes to see it, it's described that all kinds of people in the heavenly planets saw it also, So, and Prabhupada has made the point several times that the devotees are not really that attached to seeing it. So why did he see it? Prabhupada explains at the beginning. Why did Arjuna want to see it? So that no one could, pretend to be God, and it's kind of an insurance. So let's go through this purport. It's quite rich here. It's not possible as many as pious activities and sacrifices. So that's the universal form. What to speak of the personal form, which is sudurdarsham. Durdarsham means difficult to see. Sudurdarsham means very, very difficult to see. Beyond that, the form. So, okay. We have evidence of Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, when he was in the womb of his mother, the demigods came down, and they offered this beautiful prayer, 2nd chapter, 10th canto, of which the most famous is, Prabhupada would always quote, what is it? Yen ye adavindaksha vimuktamaninas. Besides the bhaktas, they're glorifying the devotees. There are others who are not devotees, O lotus-eyed Lord, who are averse to serving your lotus feet. They don't really accept you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're trying to get to Brahman, the impersonalist. And a few, by severe austerities, aruha, can rise up to kritrena, difficult austerities, param padam, Brahman bhuta, more or less. But because they have no engagement there, they're averse to serving your lotus feet, they eventually come down, because it's an unnatural position. Prabhupada also refers to the Bhagavad Gita verse here, although he doesn't quote any Sanskrit. Avyaktam vyaktam apana manyate mama buddhiya. Those who are foolish think that the avyaktam means invisible, that which has no form, aksharam, Brahman, has taken this form and personality. Manyate the foolish, abuddhaya, padamba madana mama bhutam hesharam. They don't understand my supreme nature, of Lord of all that be. That even though I'm in this human form, I still have all these shaktis by which I'm controlling everything. They're fools. Also, he cites the Brahma Samhita, completely spiritual, full of bliss and eternality. I think he's referring to the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Satchidananda Vigraha. Okay. Prabhupada takes another swipe at those who think there's something within Krishna, I think. We went through that yesterday. Naham prakasha sarvasa yogamaya. I'm covered by my yogamaya. Okay. All right. So let's go on. Now, actually, the last two verses here in this chapter, which we'll cover tonight, are really super significant. You see, they're quoted often. Text 53. Naham vedar na tapasa, na danena na chejaya, shakti evam vido drashtum, drishtava nasimamita, The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. Purport. Krishna first appeared before his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, in a four-handed form, and then he transformed himself into the two-handed form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of grammatical knowledge or mere academic qualifications, Krishna is not possible to understand, nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained by Krishna himself in the next verse. So he's first says, here's the ways that you can't understand me. The study of the Vedas, by austerities, by charity, by worship. I guess that means worship of the demigods. Again, it's all about seeing here. All about seeing. And seeing in truth. Gyatam drashtam tatvena, this in the next verse we'll see. To understand in truth. In other words, people may come into the temple. You know, we forget that sometimes that you don't see with the physical eyes. It's really with your brain, your mind that you're seeing through the physical. And I like to give this example from my own life. You may have heard it, that when I was a kid, you know, I grew up in New York, and I would go into the museums a lot, so I developed some interest in art. You know, there's all these museums in the city. And so, actually, when I was in high school, my parents bought me this set of books about art. There were a lot of color paintings in there, you know, color plates, and they explained the lighting and the symbols and the different styles and, you know, something. So that I would see more. You know, when I went to see the same painting, I was always seeing, you know, it looks really nice. But, now I get it. This is what that means. This is what that means. And I did that in college also. I took a course in that. So, and it's clear that that's how we see. You know, children are seeing the same colors and forms, but what does it mean? People may walk into this temple, you know, for the first time, and everything is new. They don't really know, like, what these paintings mean. You know, they're nice, you know, but they don't know what it means. But for a devotee who's a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, you know, this Sankirtan picture means so much. You know, there's more there. And the same thing holds for seeing this world. I mean, that's, in one sense, that's what the universal form is about. Or let's go back to the 7th chapter or the 9th chapter and the 10th chapter, where you don't just, you know, drink a glass of water. You remember, rasoham apsukonteya. Krishna's the taste in this water. So that experience of drinking water, you connect to Krishna. And it, you know, Prabhupada gives the example of the mother sees the little shoe of the child the first day of school, you know. And this is the first time she's really been separated from him, and now there's this little shoe under the bed. Oh, you know, tears coming. It's not the shoe, it's all the memories, you know. She sees it in a certain way. So that's, you know, how you can see. So none of these things, you know, help. This study of the Vedas and austerity and charity, they can help you develop that vision, that premanjana, you know, which really what you need. Only by devotional service, and Krishna will describe that in the next verse. Okay, this is a really important verse. Maybe, do you know this verse yet? I don't. Maybe we can memorize it tonight. This will be part of our new, it's just us and internet crowd. You can also open your books, page 500. Bhaktya tanannaya shakya ahamevang vidorjana gyatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Report. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse, so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once changed himself into a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, the 11th day after the new moon and the 11th day after the full moon. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy, or Krishna consciousness, throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity, given to spread Krishna consciousness, is the greatest charity in the world. And if one worships as prescribed in the temple, in the temples of India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential, and that is confirmed in the Vedic literature, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 623. Yasya deve parabhakti, yata deve tathagarao, tasyate katithayartha, prakashante mahatmanaha. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master, in whom he has similar unflinching faith, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. Okay. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word "to" is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. Okay, I'll read one more paragraph, and then because it's a long purport. Then we'll discuss. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are described as sudurdarsham, very difficult to see. They are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form of Narayan and the two-handed form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The words Tvananyena Nadrishta Purvam, text 47, state that before Arjuna no one had seen that universal form. Also, they suggest that amongst the devotees there was no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, so that in the future, when one represents himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see this universal form. Okay, so we'll break this up. So, interestingly, Prabhupada, in this first paragraph here, he describes, because the previous verse, Naham Veda Tapasa Dhanena Cheja, these are ways you can't see, but then you can, if they're dovetailed in bhakti. So he gives ways how they're pertinent to bhakti. Veda, the Vedic literature, obviously studying the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita helps one to develop the purity to see. Tapasa, there's so many austerities. Prabhupada gives example of strict Ekadashi, fasting and Janmashtami, as well as other austerities within bhakti. Dhanena, charity given to spread Krishna consciousness, certainly helps, is dear to Krishna, and one becomes closer to seeing him. And worship, so much worship in the temple. We can remember, sometimes have to remember when the books were written. Prabhupada is dictating this, 67 or sometimes, before there were any temples, So he hadn't, he didn't refer to, one can go into ISKCON temple and, but he refers to all the temples in India where the forms are there. So there's certainly purifying. But the idea is, just by these alone, in the way that they're often performed, which is without reference to bhakti, that's not going to help you. Because bhaktya tvananyaya shakya, the bhakti, unalloyed devotion, we're on page 500, without being mixed with fruit of activity, speculative knowledge. So this is a little echo of the verse of the key verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabhilashada Shunyam Jnana Karma Janavatam Anukulan Krishna Shilan Bhaktaruttama, that the bhakti has to be unalloyed, and the more unalloyed it is, the greater is your chance to, progress to the point of seeing Krishna. Otherwise, that means that, your heart is still impure. Krishna is looking for that purity of heart. And then, let's see, and going on here. I'm sorry? Yes, go ahead.
The word, could you explain the difference between the word, was it ijaya, the worship?
Yeah, that was in the previous verse.
Versus other words that are used to mean worship.
Probably not.
Okay.
Sometimes these words are used simply because they fit.
Right. I see. Yeah.
So remind me. We have the commentations of Baladev and Vishwanacharya have been translated. There might be something in there.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Prabhupada quotes this famous verse: "Yatsadeva parabhakta yatadeva tatagaro." It's interesting that he uses this in the context of seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Usually, it's used to say the meanings, the artha of the Vedas can be understood, manifest to one who has equal faith in the Lord and the spiritual master. But here he's saying that also helps one to actually see, get a revelation of Krishna. It's all related there. Okay, let's see. He makes that point that this universal form is a temporary form. It's not on the level of the actual two-handed form of Krishna, the four-handed form of the Ryan. And those are the ones that the actual devotees want to see. Okay. All right, middle of the page there, for 502, we continue with the purport. The word na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, that's text 53, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials as an academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna. Only then can one attempt to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayan and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 548. All right, let's chant it together. Yasyaika nishvatitakalamatavalamya jivanti loma vilaja jagatandanataha Vishnur mahansi yasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The Mahavishnu, unto whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth again simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Therefore one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original Supreme Personality, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Vedic literature, the Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1, the following statement appears. All right, let's chant together. Satchidananda Rupaya Krishna Krishna Karine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Gurave Buddhisakshine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him, because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and he is therefore the supreme spiritual master. Then it is said, Krishna vai paramam daivatam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.3. Ego vashi sarvaga Krishna idya. That one Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is worshipable. Eko pisan bahodayo vabhati. Krishna is one, but he is manifested in unlimited forms and expanded incarnations. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 says, say together, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. Elsewhere it is said, Yatravatirnam Krishnakyam Param Brahma Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, his name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Or sometimes descends to this earth, that's been fixed. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam we find a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this list the name of Krishna also appears. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, altogether. Ete chang sakala pungsa Krishnastu bhagavan swayam. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mattak paratanang nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead, Krishna. He also says elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Ahamadirhi devanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding the Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. The universal form, with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. It is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who was a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities, but to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. So it was kind of a tour de force there of proof that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, as I mentioned before you got here, Balaram, I don't know if you know, do you have the Nagu Bhagavatamrita upstairs? Yeah. You have it. The whole book is just dedicated to proving that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original. And when you think about it, he goes through all of them and explains how they're, expansions and everything. So this whole movement rests on that, on how much faith we could actually bring to that proposition, that Krishna is God, and then everything follows from there. If you don't get to that point, you're doubtful of that, then you're not really, ready to fully surrender. Although the wonderful thing about it is that even if you don't believe that, or even if you don't know anything, if you're able to chant, if you're attracted to chanting somehow or other, then Krishna from within the heart gives you the inspiration to come to that point. But that is a foundation. Sometimes, we speak about sambandha abhideya prayojana. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Lord Chaitanya systematically describes to Sanatana Goswami. His teachings are divided into these three elements. And that was the inspiration for Bhaktivinoda Thakur to make that the organizing principle of the Jaiva Dharma. And also his Dashamula. He saw that. So when you read that, I forget this Bengali now, but it's like, what is Sambandha? Krishna. Just Krishna, because Krishna includes the energies, and we're part of the energies and everything. So understanding Krishna as God and how he's expanding in the energies, that's the Sambandha. Now, understanding that should inspire you to come to the point of wanting to serve him, and that's the Abhideya point. It naturally follows. But this whole chapter is really culminating in that. The universal form is there, it's very awe-inspiring, and we're all part of it. In one sense, our very bodies are part of the universal form of Krishna. And that's why the devas are controlling everything. Even by blinking the eyes. We're all hooked up. You know what I mean? But we're supposed to get off the bodily platform. The universal form, is just to indicate that even everything physical, everything that we see, our own bodies, are part of the energy of Krishna, hooked up to that. The whole problem we have is that due to the effect of the bodily concept life and our rebellion against Krishna, we've come to worship the universal form without thinking of that as the universal form of God, just because we're fascinated by all of the energies and manipulating it and enjoying it. So we really want to get away from that fascination with matter and turn our attention to the spiritual form of Krishna. And that was the great advantage, the kind of the genius that Prabhupada showed in many ways, but one is kind of gave up on India, because they all thought they knew Krishna. There was all these misconceptions, which he attacks in some of these purports. But he comes to America, nobody knows anything. And so just at the right time when people were searching the dropping acid and seeing visions and the whole sense of reality and I know what's going on was being shaken, then in comes Prabhupada to give an understanding and a means, the chanting itself, by which you can begin to experience. Without that means, all the philosophy in the world wouldn't have helped. His own personality, his own being an example of the philosophy was key. And the process of chanting, which anyone can start, knowing or not knowing anything. There's no Bhagavad Gita, when they started. And Prabhupada would give classes, but there's no Gita. They had this, those basic books that he brought, of course. So, but here, this wonderful purport with all these verses. And, just to let's have some appreciation for, what Jayawada Maharaj did to excavate so many of these verses which weren't there in the original. If you look at this, this same purport in the old one, and there are plenty of them around, you're going to find there's no way that all of these little quotes, especially Gopal Tapani, Upanishad, and all these things, they're just not there. They had no access to the originals, in those days. So this it made it so much more authoritative. And, what Prabhupada wanted, quoting the Sanskrit and explaining it, is very rich. And, you read this, and we swim in it. So sometimes, like fish, they don't know what water is, but reading these books every day and Prabhupada's certainty, his authority, his status as a realized soul has the great potency of inspiring faith in the reader or the hearer or anything like that. And that faith is the key first element, Adav Shraddha. There has to be an element of faith to enter into this mysterious world of Krishna consciousness, which is like unworldly. There's so many things, that are just far out, But to really become serious, in the practice, that's what it takes. So Krishna's doing that here. At the end of all of this amazing show of the universal form, he's very much emphasizing his personal form, because that's where you can develop bhakti in the relationship. And he's giving us a means how, telling us how. It has to be ananyaya, and then one can understand me as I am. And now this final verse, Prabhupada says right here, anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all the personalities of God in Krishna Loka and be intimately connected with it, must take this formula as stated. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad Gita. When I read that, this is one of the first verses I ever memorized. So let's read that one now, and then we'll have 5 minutes or so where we can memorize it, because I have a feeling that neither of you have memorized this verse yet, even though it says it. It's the essence. Should have been. It's the essence of the whole Gita. Well, it's in our Bhakti Shastri. Mat karma krin mat paramo mat bhakta sangavarjitaha nirvairak sarva bhuteshu yaksamameti pandava. My dear Arjun, He who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. Purport. Anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all the personalities of Godhead on the Krishna Loka planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with the Supreme Personality, Krishna, must take this formula as stated by the Supreme himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a book directed to the conditioned souls who are engaged in the material world with the purpose of lording it over nature and who do not know of the real spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with the Supreme Spiritual Personality, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now here is the verse which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in this spiritual activity, devotional service. As far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities, as stated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-255. Altogether, anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjataha nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyamuchyate. No work should be done by any man except in relationship to Krishna. This is called Krishna karma. One may be engaged in various activities, but one should not be attached to the result of his work. The result should be done only for him. For example, one may be engaged in business, but to transform that activity into Krishna consciousness, one has to do business for Krishna. If Krishna is the proprietor of the business, then Krishna should enjoy the profit of the business. If a businessman is in possession of thousands and thousands of dollars, and if he has to offer all this to Krishna, he can do it. This is work for Krishna. Instead of constructing a big building for his sense gratification, he can construct a nice temple for Krishna, and he can install the deity of Krishna and arrange for the deity's service, as is outlined in the authorized books of devotional service. This is called Krishna karma. One should not be attached to the result of his work, but the result should be offered to Krishna, and one should accept as prasadam the remnants of offerings to Krishna. If one constructs a very big building for Krishna and installs the deity of Krishna, one is not prohibited from living there, but it is understood that the proprietor of the building is Krishna. That is called Krishna consciousness. If, however, one is not able to construct a temple for Krishna, one can engage himself in cleansing the temple of Krishna. That is also Krishna karma. One can cultivate a garden. Anyone who has land, in India at least any poor man has a certain amount of land, can utilize that for Krishna by growing flowers to offer him. One can sow tulsi plants, because tulsi leaves are very important, and Krishna has recommended this in the Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam parantoyam. Krishna desires that one offer him either a leaf or a flower or fruit or a little water, and by such an offering he is satisfied. This leaf especially refers to the tulsi. So one can sow tulsi and pour water on the plant. Thus even the poorest man can engage in the service of Krishna. These are some of the examples of how one can engage in working for Krishna. The word matparama refers to one who considers the association of Krishna in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. Such a person does not wish to be elevated to the higher planets, such as the moon or sun, or heavenly planets, or even the highest planet of this universe, Brahmaloka. He has no attraction for that. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he is not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahmajyoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he is not interested in any other, as indicated by the word madbhaktaha. He fully engages in devotional service, specifically in the 9 processes of devotional service: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, carrying out the orders of the Lord, making friends with him, and surrendering everything to him. One can engage in all 9 devotional processes, or 8 or 7, or at least in one, and that will surely make one perfect. The term Sangha Varjitaha is very significant. One should disassociate himself from persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but so also are those who are attracted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. Therefore, the pure form of devotional service is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:1:11 as follows, altogether. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyana avritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktaruttama. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami clearly states that if anyone wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed from all kinds of material contamination. He must be freed from the association of persons who are addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. When, freed from such unwanted association and from the contamination of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna, that is called pure devotional service. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya bharjanam. Hari Bhakti Vilas 11.676. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Kamsa was an enemy of Krishna's. From the very beginning of Krishna's birth, Kamsa planned in so many ways to kill him, and because he, Kamsa, was always unsuccessful, he was always thinking of Krishna. Thus, while working, while eating, while sleeping, he was always Krishna conscious in every respect. But that Krishna consciousness was not favorable, and therefore, in spite of his always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, he was considered a demon, and Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who's killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that is not the aim of the pure devotee. The pure devotee does not even want salvation. He does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Goloka Vrindavan. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, he's just systematically going through the verse. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy, nirvaira. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all the problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord who risked their lives for the spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. Similarly, in India also, there are many examples such as Thakur Haridas and Prahlad Maharaj. Why such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now, we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. In summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation, and the form of time, which devours everything, and even the form of Vishnu, four-handed, have all been exhibited by Krishna. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Vishwarup, or Vishnu. Okay, that has to be fixed. No comma there. Let me fix it. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important but the original form, two-handed Shyamasundar. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that those who are attached to the Shyamasundar form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. Okay, let's chant that first line. Premanjana chudita bhakti balochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yang Shyamasundara machindu gunaswarupam govindamadi purusantana. You got to learn this Brahma Samhita while you're here, at least the main verses. One should understand, therefore, that the purport of this 11th chapter is that the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. Thus end the Bhaktivinoda purpose to the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the universal form. And we have kind of run out of time. So
That comma you said, but if you put a comma, that would say the Vishwarup is the same as Vishnu?
that's what it means.
The Vishwarup is Vishnu.
He's not. That's why I'm taking the comma out.
There's a comma, but there's no comma in this one.
Oh, really? Okay, so I have an older printing.
Okay, yeah, this one doesn't have.
You say it's been fixed already. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, you should understand why it should be taken out, right, Balaram? Yeah, two different things. The comma means that one's explaining the. Okay, thank you for your attention. Thank you. If you're out there, I know you're out there. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.